Oh, it's a playoff edition of the Win Daily Sports Position by Position Preview. My name is John Jansen. Follow me at JJansen34. Of course, always joined by Jason Mezrahi. And we are sponsored by the Sharp app. Go to sharp.app for all of your betting needs. Anyone in New York, you don't have the Sharp app downloaded to help you with bets. I don't know what in the hell you're doing right now. So go ahead, download the Sharp app as you're listening to us. Give you some DFS plays for this weekend. Yeah, look at the hat. Hat not included. Not yet, maybe. I don't know. Sharp.app, Google Play Store, Apple App Stores where you can download it. Also, subscribe here to WinDailySports.com. You can also use our tools and optimizers to help you out with some DFS needs as well. So, Jason Mezrahi, we got some playoff action this weekend. And, of course, that means we've got to go over some positions. First of all, I want to start with, obviously, we're going to start with quarterbacks. But I just got to start with, like, which one, Jason? I don't know if you were expecting a hard question there, but I got to be honest. I have no idea what quarterback I would want to play this week.
Well, there's so many different slates, so you can get a lot of each of these quarterbacks and kind of decide how you want to attack this slate. You know, you have a Saturday slate, then you have a Saturday, Sunday slate, then you have a Saturday, Sunday, Monday slate, then a Sunday slate by itself, and you got the showdown. So you're going to end up playing all these quarterbacks one way or another if you're playing all the slates. The only guy that I'm kind of off for the most part is Jalen Hurts, your boy out of Philly.
Whoa, why is that? Why is that?
I don't know. I'm not like so excited to play Jalen Hurts. I think he can do well. Don't get me wrong. But now we're seeing some weather concerns here too. So it looks like a lot of rain, potentially 15 to 20 mile an hour wind with gusts around 30 miles an hour. So this could be potential problems for Jalen Hurts. Not the most accurate dude. And you got wind and rain. Kind of worries me a little bit. But if you can't throw the ball, you might run the ball more. So like I said, you're going to have shares of everybody. But this over-under was at 49.5. And I kind of like the over originally. Now it's down to 46, so I might bet it again, to be honest with you. But the line's been moving a bunch. It's also going to be really cold in Buffalo. It's going to be freezing in Buffalo, around 5-10 degrees by kickoff there. So you got some potential cold weather there to deal with as well. Outside of that, going to be cold in Cincinnati. It's clear but cold. So we're into the winter months, so expect cold games. Look, I've seen teams score 50 points with snow on the ground, so it doesn't mean it's going to be a low-scoring game because it's cold outside. So not too much to worry about. But with Jalen Hurts, that upside, they're only projected to score now 18.5. So he might be one of my fade candidates on the slate. I think the Dallas-San Fran game, I think Dak's in a really good spot. You know, they're favored, but he can put up a good game. I like Brady going in, but this rain kind of would worry me a little bit. So it's probably going to be, if we're talking every player is available on the slate, Patrick Mahomes is in a really good spot, projected to score 29 on his side, and Stafford, again, in a good spot if you're playing that Saturday through Monday slate, which I'm definitely going to play. I like the challenge of a bigger slate, so I'm going to play all the slates, or at least most of the slates, maybe not all the showdowns, but Stafford in a good spot, Patrick Mahomes in a good spot. If the weather's clear, I like Brady. Prescott in a good spot. And then Josh Allen, man, he's going to have a big game. He really is. It's cold, but it's not going to be the win it was last time out when they played New England. So I like Josh Allen here too. Probably the safest of the bunch. And look, Joe Burrow and Derek Carr, they're going to be a throw a lot in this game. This game is going to shoot over 50. Both these defenses are suspect. So Carr and Burrow should have a good game. Obviously, everybody's going to lean on Burrow, but I like Joe Mixon a little bit for some sneaky upside as well.
Yeah, I think Mahomes obviously would be up there because Pittsburgh got torched by Mahomes in that offense last time. I think they put up 36 points. So I think it can happen again. Of course, Patrick Mahomes also. Playoff experience, very good in the playoffs. The one game that has some potential too is Matthew Stafford and Kyler Murray there in Los Angeles. I think that game has potential to be a very, very high scoring game. We've seen NFC West games get like that. So I think that one has the best potential to be a shootout. I know Cincinnati and the Raiders do as well. I just don't trust those two quarterbacks right now in a playoff scenario. And I think that's going to be a little bit low scoring, I would say, of a game in that one. And you're right. Eagles and Tampa Bay had a lot of potential. And I think Jalen Hurts in particular had a lot of potential because Tampa Bay does give up a lot of rushing yards to running quarterbacks. But that rain, everything just kind of doesn't sit right, doesn't feel right, to be honest with you about this game. So I wouldn't go, you're right, either near Tom Brady or Jalen Hurts. I think it's Mahomes. I don't like Josh Allen in the cold. There is too much of a trend, and I know it's probably something that I shouldn't be using, but the trend of him in cold weather, the way he plays, would have me worried enough not to want to put him in a slate. So I don't know. I'm keeping it really to Murray, to Stafford, and probably to Patrick Mahomes are the three quarterbacks that I would want most and probably going to stick to the most in this game. Anything else to add with quarterbacks? Am I maybe going a little bit too far with saying like Josh Allen's play in cold weather as a trend worth staying away from?
Doesn't worry me, man. He's a gamer. It's playoff football. He's got a chip on his shoulder after last year. So I think Allen's in play. And I think you're kind of slipping on Dak Prescott here too. I think Prescott should have a good game. You know, he has most of his weapons, if not all his weapons out there. Guys are stepping up in absence of, Micah Gallup here. So he's got at least 3-4 guys he can toss the ball to. He wants to go out. This could be a higher scoring game too. San Fran's been putting up some points. Their defense a little suspect. So I think between Mahomes, Allen, Brady, Prescott, and Stafford, that's who I have in my top 5. Then probably go Joe Burrow even before Kyler Murray. Murray's worrying me, just a little bit. This offense is just not clicking, not really there. So I'm worried about the Cardinals here. I think the Rams defense steps up here, makes a statement here. So Murray can always do it, man. He can rush he's a better version of Jalen Hurts, so he always has that rushing upside. But I'm going to try my best. I'll have a share of him, but he won't be in my main stack or my main lineup. And really going to stick to the top end here. Mahomes, there is some risk, just for the simple fact that Pittsburgh does not put up many points, doesn't stay with Kansas City. But Mahomes is still the safer guy out of the bunch.
Let's move on to running backs because I feel like most of our time is going to be spent with running backs and wide receivers. I guess the big question is Leonard Fournette because his status still a little bit up in the air. But if he does play, if Leonard Fournette's active, he's in the starting lineup and he plays, what's your interest in Leonard Fournette?
I love it, man. This price is just too cheap on DraftKings. You're really going to have a tough time, finding safe value on this slate. And there's really no better value than Leonard Fournette, in my perspective, on this slate because he's the wide receiver 2 for this offense. It's Mike Evans and it's Leonard Fournette. He was getting so many looks prior to the injury out of the backfield. So I love him on DraftKings. I love this price at 5.9. And it's really, really, really a tough fade here at 5,900. He could have a bad game. Don't get me wrong. There's other people in good spots or potentially you can call it a great spot. But you can't really go too wrong here at this price tag. So I'm going to have Fournette as one of my core plays in my single entry lineup. So he'll be a lock as long as he plays. If I hear something awful where it's like, he's not 100% and
right, limited snaps or whatever it might be. Yeah.
I might get a little bit worried, but I think they were resting him. I think he should be a go here. But again, check up. We'll be doing a serious show on Saturday night. We'll be doing a live stream Sunday morning. Check on the website. Check the optimizer. We're going to be updating it pretty much on the hour, every hour as these games go through. So with Fournette, I think he's a lock if he plays 5.9. You can't go wrong. The backside of that game, you just cross off everybody on the Eagles. Don't even touch it. Not much there. Joe Mixon is the sneaky play. I mentioned it when we did our podcast for Sirius on Tuesday. Everybody's going to go to Burrow and Chase, or a lot of people are going to go to Burrow and Chase because they've been paying people off pretty nicely at the last couple of weeks. But everybody forgot, how good Mixon was earlier this year. Even in a matchup against the Raiders, he went for 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. And the guy's been a touchdown machine. So he's had a couple, slow games. He's been out a couple of times recently. So he's the forgotten guy in Cincinnati. Everybody's thinking it's all Joe Burrow here, but look, Cincinnati's still favored by 6, 5.5, depending where you see it. I did take a bet on the Raiders at plus 6.5, and I'm still there. Now I see it down to 5.5. But Mixon should be carrying a lead here. The Bengals are the better team playing at home. So I think Mixon is sneaky. I'm not going to go to Damian Harris or Ramondre Stevenson. You can get cute and try to go there, but not worth it for me. Devin Singletary has been good. You can play him, but I'll probably go somewhere else too. Eli Mitchell.
Singletary.
What was that? You like him?
Yeah, I think they would be comfortable actually opting to run the ball more in this game than they usually would. Now they've been running the ball better, and I think Josh Allen's been a part of that too because they've been running him a lot. But I think the fact that they have an existing running game that's good, or at least good enough at this point, I do think they're going to try and alleviate some of that pressure off Josh Allen, having to throw 30, 40 times in the cold, and end up trying to hand it off to Devin Singletary more. So I do think there's going to be an increase in the amount of carries that he gets. Does it lead to production? Obviously, that's a little bit tough because the Patriots defense is pretty good, but he's been producing lately. They found a good running game. I think Devin Singletary is a pretty solid play for this weekend.
My only question to you, I'll go back and forth on this. Would you prefer to play Singletary at 5.8 or Eli Mitchell at 5.5? At the same price. Who do you like better at the same price?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I would probably, it's a tough one. I would say Eli Mitchell a little bit because the San Francisco running game is that good. But yep. I'm thinking they actually end up going a lot more to Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk in the passing game a little bit because you can beat the secondary of the Dallas Cowboys pretty good. I mean, Trayvon Diggs has those picks. He's given up a lot of yards, though. And Jimmy Garoppolo looked really good against the Rams. I think they opt a little bit more for the passing game against Dallas, and I think they'll try and use Samuels and Ayuk more to kind of take advantage of that weaker secondary. It's a tough one, though, because Eli Mitchell's really good, and that price is amazing.
Yeah, I'll take that bet, though, man. If you want to go head-to-head on that one, I just think Mitchell will be in better spots. I think the Patriots' defense is slightly better. They're close, but I got I'll lean towards Eli Mitchell here in a spot. But like you said, if Buffalo puts up points, he could fall into the end zone a couple of times. But I like Eli as my second value play. So, like, if I had to rank them based on value, I think I got Fournette 1, Eli Mitchell probably 2. And I just like the sneakiness of Joe Mixon here. If everybody's going to be loading up on, Jamar Chase, especially like in a Saturday-only matchup, you can fade somebody and slide in Mixon at lower ownership. I think it's a good spot. Not really sure what to do with Najee Harris. I think he could be sneaky, and I think Pittsburgh can get shut down. So if they get shut down, if they don't get those touchdowns,
well, I think they'll just be forced away from the running game, right? I mean, you can run against the Chiefs, and the Chiefs have kind of gotten gashed a bit lately, but I just don't know if I see enough from Pittsburgh here. In terms of production, first of all.
Yeah, you need the receptions to come from Harris to get there.
Yeah, exactly. Because I just have a feeling they're going to fall down pretty quickly in this one, or get down pretty quickly in this one.
Yeah, that's the thing you got to kind of factor in. Look, I keep on seeing this game in Tampa, and as I'm talking about it, look, dropping 3.5 points for rain. I just saw this before I got on the show, and I already bet the over 49. Rain 3.5 points seems pretty heavy.
It seems aggressive. It really does.
Like super aggressive.
The thing is, it's more it's dictated by bettors, and I guarantee you, once pun intended, once everybody caught wind of it, I think the public and all the bettors just started going fistfuls to the window with cash and trying to get this thing, bet the under. It just feels like everybody kind of caught attention to the weather problems.
I don't know. Right now, I still see the over-under. I see it at 46 on Caesars right now. And while I'm on the show, I'm looking on the Sharp app just to see what's going on. The money, the money prior was all over the over, like at a very heavy-handed. Like 90% of the money was on the over. Now it drops to 46. And this is what I'm going to say to everybody. Weathermen suck at their job. So even if
they're like sports bettors.
I would say sports bettors are probably better than weathermen. The fact that the weatherman saying that it's going to be like really bad in rain. I'll bet against the weatherman at this point, and I'm going to go bet this while I'm on air right now. And look, I liked it at 49. I like it at 46. So I'm going to throw a couple $100 on this right now before this line moves, because if the weather clears up, they're going to move the line back up 3.5 points. It's pretty crazy to me. I think it's too aggressive of a move. And even if it does rain a little bit, I'm going to place the bet. So I put $100 on it or $200 on it right now. Let it go. It's over. It's going
so
over.
That means you're taking Leonard Fournette.
I was playing Fournette anyways, man. Rain, sleet, hail, snow, whatever you want to give me. I think Fournette.
Yeah, if he's on the field healthy, starting lineup, Fournette's, I think just you have to him in.
Look,
5.9K is kind of ridiculous.
It's too cheap, cheap. And look, you got to break things down, by the slate too, because you're gonna have a Saturday only slate, a Sunday only slate. So like each thing is slightly different. You got to factor in ownership and all of that. For the Sunday slate, I like Eli and Fournette. I like that for the Saturday, Sunday, Monday slate too. They're my two favorite guys. In the Saturday only slate, I probably go Mixon and Singletary. You can talk me into Josh Jacobs on DK as well, because you have to pick two guys. The DK get a full point PPR, and I do think that game is going to be a lot higher scoring than the Bills-Patriots game. So it really breaks down. It's tough to analyze these games when you're talking about, is it a 2-game slate? Is it a 3-game slate? Is it a 5-game slate? Or is it a 6-game slate? So it's kind of difficult to speak in different slates because everything comes up to lineup construction at that point.
Let's move on to wide receivers here as we're going through each and every position to help you with the DFS slates this weekend in wildcard weekend. Wide receiver, Cooper Kupp, I know 9K. That's the one we're going to talk about a lot, but I'm not lying, Jason. I think Debo Samuel is going to have a monster smash game against Trayvon Diggs in the Dallas Cowboys secondary. Even if San Francisco loses, I don't care. Debo Samuel's going to eat up Trayvon Diggs in this game.
Is that a Philly prediction, or is that an honest?
No. That is a Trayvon Diggs has given up the most yards in the NFL this season, and Debo Samuel is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL with his quarterback playing somewhat good now. All of a sudden, I love Debo. Debo Samuel is going to have a huge game.
I like Debo. I love everything about the dude. I think he's just a super freak athlete, super talented, can do everything on the field. He's a gamer. I like the tenacity of everything. I like it. I think that game's going to shoot over too. I like where that game is projected already. So Debo's definitely in play. Cooper Kupp, we don't got to talk about too much. He's really good in a good matchup. He's done well every single game this year. I don't think he had a bad game the entire year. Against Arizona, last time out, 31 DraftKings points. Earlier this season, he did somewhat have a dud. He had this 2-game spell where he actually went under 20 DK points. Still got 13 targets, only 5 receptions for 11. Look, that's the outlier because everything else is in the 20s and 30s. This is a playoff game. It should be a tight game. It's in a dome. You don't got to worry about weather. So Cooper Kupp, smash spot. What I've been telling people the last couple of weeks, play half your lineups with him, half your lineups without him. You need to hedge a guy like Cooper Kupp because on these short slates or depending on what slate you play, he's going to be needed if he goes off and drops 30 or even 25. You need those raw projection points. And the guy I'm going to ask you about that his price has dipped down so low, you got to think about it. It's Tyreek Hill, but dude's been struggling, man. Like the last 3 games, he struggled under, he had 10, 1, and 3 points. He had that one big game against the Chargers where he dropped 32. But then you have 2 other duds in there too. And he's burned me a lot this year, but it could be any single week that this guy goes off.
And you also expect there to be more of an effort to get him the ball in the playoffs.
But is he hurt, though? Like, I know he has a heel problem, and he's been limping on the field. Last time I saw him out, he has an injury. Like, he runs hard, but then he's limping at the same time. So
look, I'll say this: if you are concerned, right? If you're that concerned about his injury to the point you wouldn't want to even play him at 7.1K, I think Mecole Hardman has to be in your lineup. Then has to. because he is the one that is going to get directly benefit from that.
I think
Because
Pringle's
one of these receivers,
Pringle's the better wide receiver at this point, though, isn't he? Like, do you think it's still Hardman as the number 2 option if Tyreek Hill is hurt?
yeah, and this may be prisoner of the moment because of his last game, but Mecole Hardman went off in his last game, and he is. If you're asking who the most skilled receiver out of all those is, Byron Pringle does not even come close to the amount of skill and talent that Mecole Hardman has. And if Tyreek Hill isn't having a big game, I think it directly translates to Mecole Hardman having one, because we know Mahomes, I hate to say locks in on a guy, but somebody is going to benefit off of the fact that they are scoring 30 probably or more points against Pittsburgh in this game. Obviously, that leads to Travis Kelce, but I think one of these receivers, and the one I would opt for, is Mecole Hardman.
It's close. Him and Pringle are close. I think technically Pringle's still the wide receiver too. But yeah, Hardman does have slightly bigger upside, but Pringle's been pretty damn good too. So I don't know if I can go to Hardman above Byron Pringle if I get there. I do like the call. Look, if you're going to fade Tyreek, especially like in a Sunday only slate, go into Pringle, obviously go into Kelce.
Right. One of those Kansas City receivers are going to go off if it's not Tyreek Hill.
And it could be Tyreek. That's why I would get. I'm not gonna
Right. It could be. Yeah.
I'm not gonna go big on him. It looks like he's gonna be like 20, 25% owned. Probably the second highest wide receiver owned on the slate. What I'm seeing in different spots. So he's gonna be popular. It's a tough spot because he hasn't been playing good as of late. So interesting play to fade or not fade Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. Other wide receivers that you want to mention here, Jason, and I'm looking in the 4K range, just because to find some value somewhere. Not saying you have to dumpster dive for receivers, but a couple that I would want to mention, Zay Jones has been getting a lot of targets. It's hit or miss the amount of production that he gets off of them, but I think the matchup against Cincinnati is good enough that it's worth a shot if you really need a 4K guy. And also there was another one there that I really like, Cedric Wilson. The Dallas Cowboys are probably going to opt for throwing about 40 times in this game. You can throw the ball on San Francisco's banged up, weaker secondary. It's just, do you trust Dak Prescott and the offense to finally get things going? But Cedric Wilson is the number 3 receiver now with Michael Gallup out, and he gets targeted a lot. So I do think Cedric Wilson does carry some value if you want to look deep into there as well. Ola Beckham, I like at 5.1K because I think the Rams are going to have a big passing game against the Cardinals in general. But any other value plays like that you like?
I think a lot of people are going to be on Dallas. CeeDee Lamb's only 6,200. That's a cheap price. Amari Cooper, 5,900. And you mentioned Cedric Wilson. So those 3 guys are definitely in play for me. Christian Kirk, 5,300. You're trying to win a GPP. He's the big time threat that's left in Arizona.
If you get the one big
so if you get the big play, he had a big day against Detroit a couple of games back. He's had a decent game. The second game versus LA. First game was a dud. It's a different team right now. So Kirk is technically wide receiver 1 on this team, 5.3. If you get a wide receiver 1 at 5.3. In these short slates, it makes some sense. I like the Odell Beckham call. If you fade Cooper Kupp, you probably want to lock up some Odell Beckham. That game should stay close. Outside of that, T. Higgins, 6,300 is cheap. If you want to, I don't want to, but if you want to, go with one of these New England wide receivers, if Myers or Nelson Aguilar, whoever trots out there for him, they're going to have to score some points. They can't rely, in my eyes, on the run game in this game. They're going to have to throw the ball, so Mac Jones is going to have to do something to push this ball downfield, and I don't think it's going to be the Hunter Henry show the entire game. So I think Myers or Aguilar, Myers has got 12, 8, 8, 8 receptions in the last 4 games. So at his price tag at 5K on DraftKings, I think there's some value there as well. So those are the guys looking at. Zay Jones, 4K. Definitely in play. The guy's been heavily involved. They should be trailing here against Cincinnati. It should be a high-scoring game here. So Zay Jones, 4K, makes a bunch of sense too. Look, 7 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets, 10 targets, 8 targets. So you really can't go wrong at 4K for a guy that's getting that many targets.
Right.
So he's probably the safest value at the wide receiver position on the entire slate.
Yeah, I think so as well with the amount of targets. Anything for, I know we talked about weather issues, but the Tampa Bay secondary is one I would love to target against because they're not very good. But I think is what you've been saying. Do the concerns, weather concerns, and Jalen Hurts passing in general concern you enough not to want to take Devontae Smith, and of course, as we'll get into, Dallas Goedert.
Look, Goddard's in play. He's the safest one. If I'm going to take a chance, I know it might sound crazy, but if I'm going to take a chance on an Eagle receiver, I want it to be a value guy. I don't want to pay up for 5.5. And if Devontae goes out there, has a bad game, you really do get burnt. I don't think the upside is so high with Devontae over a Quez Watkins or maybe even a Jalen Reagor that it's really worth taking that risk on Devontae. So, look, I love Mike Evans. If it's clear out there, Mike Evans definitely in play. Gronkowski definitely in play. Fournette. We like these guys if the weather's clear. On the backside of it, I'm not touching the Philly running backs, but I kind of lean towards Quez Watkins or Reagor and probably lean towards Watkins, who's been picking up a little bit of steam. Not a lot of steam, but a little bit of steam where, look, if dude catches 4 balls for 50 yards and maybe finds a way into the end zone, that's enough for me at his price tag. So kind of leaning, if you got to get there and you want to be different, he makes some sense. And we kind of have to talk about, Pittsburgh.
We do. We probably should.
They're gonna be behind the entire game.
Right. If they're gonna be behind, then Ben Roethlisberger's throwing a bunch. I mean, the only one though, I don't like Claypool. If Deontay Johnson, that's the only one because I mean he could have an absurd amount of targets.
Yeah, look, they're gonna have to throw the ball a bunch too. They want to win this game. And look, it's the playoffs. It's not like they're gonna just give up. It's Ben's last game, so there might be like an awful amount of garbage time in this game, and that's what Vegas is thinking at least. So like, I don't think Roethlisberger comes out. Like it's a playoff game. It's his last game. So if he's out there, Deontay Johnson's going to be out there for 4 quarters. Claypool is going to be out there for 4 quarters. Claypool is priced under $5K on DraftKings. I don't love the dude, but you need to find value on this slate. Pretty safe value if you ask me. Going against a team that does, and Deontay Johnson's the better guy if you can get the salary there. Yep. And I don't think too many people want to play Pittsburgh players. So I think they're kind of.
No, they don't. I guarantee you, nobody's going to want to do it. Nobody.
Yeah, so everybody's going to see it. They're going to want the other side of it. They're going to stack up other games, and they're just going to forget that garbage time is a real thing. So don't just think because they're going to get smacked and they're going to lose by 20 that Deontay can't hit value and catch 10 balls for 100 yards and score a touchdown, or Claypool can't go for 8 and 70 and a touchdown at that price tag at 4,800. They're going to have to throw the ball. So look, I like both plays. I'm not going to fade Pittsburgh just because I don't think Roethlisberger can go out there and chuck it.
Let's move on to tight ends now, as we are going over position by position here for Wild Card Weekend. And of course, we got some pretty good ones. Like all the playoff teams, not going to lie, Jason, they all have pretty damn good tight ends. I mean, we would consider maybe 3-4 of the top tight ends in the league all on this slate. Dallas Goedert's been pretty good. Zach Ertz, Dalton Schultz. Actually, when it comes to tight ends, there's a lot to work with here.
Listen, I know this sounds shitty, but whoever fits in your lineup at tight end, you can roll them pretty confidently. Like, I can sell you on Goddard. I can sell you on Ertz. I can sell you on Higbee. And then I can obviously sell you on Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski, and George Kittle. The only guy that's going to be a tough sell, and I still think he's very playable because he's going to probably be the least owned out of all the guys I just mentioned, is Darren Waller. Waller needs to step up for them to have a shot win this game. They can't go on the road into Cincinnati to a team that's red hot, putting up a bunch of points, and hope it's just going to be Zay Jones and Hunter Renfrow, carrying them to the promised land and the next round of playoffs. So I think sneaky-wise, Darren Waller could be a guy that shows up. But like you said, John, there's so many good tight ends. Goddard
So
playing from
many.
behind. Zach Ertz is getting 10 targets a game. Higbee is cheap, and he was productive the last couple games. George Kittle is George Kittle. Gronkowski is Gronkowski. Kelsey is Kelsey. So, look, if I can pay up and get Gronkowski or Kittle, I go there first. If I want to get cute in GPPs, I think it's Kittle and Waller. And if I need value, first guy in is Zach Ertz. Second guy in, as long as the weather's okay, is Goddard. And if I need a little extra value, it's Higbee or Freiermuth is definitely in play. And two guys we haven't even mentioned yet. Dalton Schultz, nobody's going to play him. Dude's playing out of this world good. He's
so good.
He's like,
well, now the thing is Michael Gallup's out, so like I know I said Cedric Wilson, but the other guy who can benefit off of that, like he did when Amari Cooper I think was out, Dalton Schultz can benefit being the third, fourth
red
guy
zone
now.
Guy too. He's getting a bunch. Yeah. Even when his volume goes down, he catches touchdowns, and this should be a high scoring game. So like, I know it sounds crazy to say it, but like, I want shares of all these guys, and I do think a double tight end stack on DraftKings and even FanDuel makes some sense because some of these wide receivers are suspect. Like, if you're going to try to get a 4K or 5K wide receiver, a little worrisome. But getting these 4K guys, or even, again, a guy we haven't mentioned, the best wide receiver on New England is Hunter Henry. He's the most involved in this offense, and he's the most involved, for the most part, in the red zone. They're not running the ball. They're going to do a little short little pass, a little gadget play, and Hunter Henry's going to be wide open in the end zone. So, like, Henry's a guy that at 3,700, like, if you need someone in your flex spot and you can't afford $4,000, Henry's probably one of the safer 3K guys that most people won't play, and he can score a couple touchdowns. Like, tight ends can score touchdowns. He's got a safe floor, probably around 6-7 points. They're gonna need to throw the ball to stay in this game. And look, if you were Mac Jones, who would you prefer to throw the ball to? Jacoby Myers, Aguilar, Bourne, or Hunter Henry? I think Hunter Henry's going to be involved in this game too. So
you'd be close to the top. You'd be close.
That's what I'm saying. Like, don't think it's crazy to flex a tight end and just get that value and soak it up and try to load up in spots where you want to get a top-end quarterback or a top-end even defense or wide receiver here.
All right, Jason. That'll do it as we wrap things up here for the position-by-position preview. By the way, all the things that you need for DFS, there are multiple slates, as you just said, Jason. There's like 17 different bleeping slates, whether it's showdowns, 2-game slate for Saturday, 3-game slate for Sunday, the showdown for Monday, whether it's the entire weekend, whatever you need. All of it can be found to help you out, whether the optimizer, which has all that those options available, projection model, cheat sheets, all of it, windailysports.com. Go subscribe now to Win Daily Sports, and all the betting needs for this weekend, go to the Sharp app, sharp.app, Google Play Store, Apple App Store, wherever you download your apps is where you can find the Sharp app, but go to sharp.app for more information. Jason, wonderful job. Any other bet you want to give me real quick before you go?
I'll give you the bets that I've kind of been, locking in so far. I like the Bills to win this game. -4. I think it's pretty safe. I think the Bills step up. They got a lot to prove. Patriots still young, not really polished on offense. So I think the Bills win this one pretty easily. When the line was 6.5, I like the Raiders at 5. It's a stay away spot for me now. I just bet the Eagles right now at 46 while I was on air, over 46 with the Eagles and the Bucks there. I'm leading Cowboys. Haven't bet it yet. I think they're the better team, but San Fran's been playing pretty good football. I just think the quarterback in Dak is better than Jimmy G. So I'm leaning on the Cowboys. And if I have enough courage by the end of, Saturday night or Sunday night, maybe, just maybe, ride Big Ben one last time with 12.5 points. It could be a terrible idea, but it can also work. And I do think the Rams on Monday night look like the better play so far. But the only bet I really placed right now was I got the Raiders at 6.5 early.
Love the Raiders.
I do like the over. I'm going to bet against the weather, man. I'm going to bet with the Sharp money and the Sharp app. And look, I've been using that tool just to see the betting handles on the app, and it really has been proven to be pretty solid predictor of who's going to cover in this game. So I've been following that a lot. So, the over in Tampa Bay, the Sharps liked it before the rain and whatever was going on. So I'm going to stick with the Sharps. I'm going to fade the Weatherman and lock in that over 46, which should still be good as long as there's not like a hurricane or a monsoon going on in Tampa Bay. And then I'll look really stupid and the Weathermen run.
I love the Raiders. So we'll finish with that. Raiders. I even like him at 5.5.
Even
That's
at
what
5?
I got him at.
5?
Yeah, I wish I
5
would have gotten
still
6.5, but I still 5.5. I still like him.
Gotcha.
That is going to do it for us here at Win Daily Sports. We'll be back for more this weekend. Plenty of things this weekend, especially Sunday morning at 11 a.m. We're going to have our show, and also SiriusXM will be live at 11 o'clock as well. So make sure to stay tuned here at WinDailySports.com.